The SEC put out a little proposal, and if enacted, it could crush crypto technology, all without even mentioning the words DeFi or cryptocurrency. How is this even possible? Is this some kind of mistake, intentional ignorance, or something else altogether? This new proposal by the SEC plans to expand on the word securities dealer to specifically include treasuries dealers, making them subject to much more regulation. A US Treasury is basically a loan that you give to the US government in return for a small interest rate. And it turns out that about half of the trades in this specific market are done by brokers who may need additional regulation. Now wait, you're probably wondering, how does this relate to crypto whatsoever? I mean, the title of the proposal is literally about government securities dealers, not crypto. Well, in this case, it's all about the footnotes, the fine print. See, on footnote 36, it states that this rule would apply to any securities defined by the document, as well as any digital asset that is a security as defined by the Securities Act. Meaning if a crypto service is to be determined a security, it would be subject to far more regulation. This impacts way more than just large exchanges. If you do anything in DeFi, it would impact you. But before we dig into that, we need to determine what exactly is a security in this context. If we look over to the Securities Act of 1934, we can see the definition of a security. And that definition includes just about any investment that promises a return. This is thanks to what's called the Howey test, a four-part test that determines if something is a security. Now there's trouble with the Howey test and crypto. The test is old, and it's pretty hard to argue that crypto services like lending or staking aren't some degree of securities under these old guidelines. And if this proposal is enacted, it would give just enough wiggle room to regulate crypto without actually passing a bill specifically on crypto, like some kind of DeFi sneak attack. And again, before we talk about how this impacts you specifically, it's important to ask why the SEC is acting like they're both ready and not ready at the same time. It's so strange. Here's something that Gary Gensler of the SEC recently said on regulating crypto platforms.
Those platforms should come in, they should figure out how to register, be in an investment protection remit. Now, not many have.
Really? What about Coinbase, who came to the SEC with their lending product last year, and you threatened to sue them if they launched the product without giving any guidance on what they should do? Every time we ask the SEC what a securities dealer is, they threaten to sue.
Chair Gensler, you have on multiple occasions asked crypto companies to come in and speak with you. However, many of these companies that have come to speak with you have soon after found themselves the targets of enforcement actions or even legal threats.
Gensler even went so far as to give crypto platforms an ultimatum in December. Come to us or we'll come to you.
I don't want to kill you. What would I do without you?
On the one hand, it's kind of hard not to laugh at the SEC's contradictory behavior here, but on the other hand, it's kind of frightening. Like, the SEC is forcing crypto companies to come to their office, yet they have no framework to register their offerings as securities, nor any official determination of what a security in crypto even is. It's like when you ask your mom as a kid if you can go over to your friend's house, and she says no. So you're like, why can't I go to my friend's house? And she's like, because I said so. The problem is this impacts anyone who uses crypto to earn yield, whether that be through staking, mining, lending, or any other creative use of DeFi. Going back to the proposal, it states treasuries dealers would need to officially register as securities dealers, meaning much more regulations. But this also includes anyone dealing in digital assets, whether that be facilitating transactions, providing liquidity, or quote, buying and selling securities for its own account. What this translates to is anyone who runs a crypto service where profits are generated or trades are made would be required to file with the SEC. Tens of thousands of stake pools, DEXs, and protocols all filing with the SEC. For the average crypto user, this would mean yields on your favorite services like lending or staking would likely go down due to higher expenses. And a strong likelihood that DeFi services would need to require your personal information like a social security number in order to use the service. This would then lead to people illegally using these services with VPNs, crypto companies moving out of the US, and more centralization in the space due to the fact that it's way harder to get started. If it's harder to get started, you can bet fewer and fewer companies will enter the space. All in all, it's not great. Now, for all two of you who in the audience read this 200-page document, you might be saying, hold on. It specifically states that operators who control less than 50 million in assets are not subject to these rules, meaning small operators would still have a chance. And you'd be right. except footnote 97. This states that even if you have less than 50 million in assets, your assets can be combined with someone else's and be counted as more than 50 million. So there's gray area to include just about everything if they want to. Now, this proposal is just a proposal for now, but the problem is the SEC likely already has the authority to regulate crypto. Here's what Gensler has to say when asked if they have that power.
I think that we have robust authorities at the Securities and Exchange Commission, and we're going to use them and continue.
Now, this proposal is just one of the many questionable ways the SEC is approaching crypto. Like, why haven't they settled their lawsuit with Ripple yet? How have they not approved or even denied the mini spot crypto ETFs? I mean, Grayscale has been trying to get the SEC to approve their flagship fund, GBTC, for years. Their CEO said he's considering taking the SEC to court over the matter. And what's strange about this is the SEC is concerned about consumer protection. I mean, that's their whole job. However, more than 800,000 Americans already own GBTC with low protections. Approval by the SEC would literally give more protection and safer access to something that's already being used. Again, contradictory. Now listen, I'm not totally against regulations. I think well-educated and revised laws specifically for crypto are probably a good idea. I'm all about greater access to the space. If more safety and regulation means more people can safely benefit without sacrificing things like solid lending returns, I'm all for it. There's no doubt that we have problems in the crypto space. I mean, take what just happened to Axie Infinity. 625 million was stolen in a split second due to an exploit on Ronin. It's the Wild West, and endless amounts of thieves and hackers are trying to take advantage of weaknesses on blockchains every single day. It's not perfect. But that's when people who don't understand the space come in and say, hey, we had this one issue over here, so we need to completely blanket regulate the entire space.
We know, for example, that Iran and North Korea use cryptocurrencies to evade financial sanctions.
Not a lot, though. It turned out to be, it is a smaller chunk than folks thought.
You can make that kind of argument for anything. Let's get rid of cash because people buy pot with it. Let's get rid of the internet because I'm sick of all the Will Smith memes, which I am. But you can also make the opposite argument. 90% of donations to Ukraine were done in crypto. So there you go. If you just look at that, it's amazing. That's just not how things work. Let's not build regulation by cherry picking the good or the bad. So is this some kind of shadow attack on crypto, a conspiracy to control and decimate the entire space? I wish I knew for certain. What I can tell you is how this butterfly effect hurts both you and DeFi services. DEXs, or decentralized exchanges, are the backbone of DeFi. This is where you can buy or sell just about any kind of digital asset, so you can then do other interesting things. Unlike centralized exchanges like FTX, which use order books to match a buy and sell, decentralized exchanges use an automated market maker, or AMM. You can think of it like a little robot sorting transactions and matching buyers and sellers. Right now, you could copy the code of your favorite DEX, tweak it to how you like, and launch it. And boom, now you're a DeFi operator. It doesn't mean that you'll have any users, but you'll be an operator nevertheless. This is great because you don't need anyone's permission, not the blockchain, not the government, not even the DEX that you literally copy and pasted their code from. Lack of permission has helped this space grow extremely quickly. That's why DeFi today is completely different than it was just a year ago. But this new proposal, unless altered, would mean in order to start a DEX, you would need to file and receive a dealer application from the SEC. On the one hand, you can see the logic of wanting to know these platforms are being run properly. But on the other hand, we've all dealt with the government, or at the very least gone to the DMV. If that's any indication of how easy getting approved by the SEC might be, we can see how this could slow down innovation in the space. And if they're too heavy-handed, you can bet that just about every crypto company will quickly move out of the US to friendlier countries. If you want to help the fight for DeFi, I'll leave a link in the description. Here you can help by requesting the SEC revise this proposal for greater clarity on crypto. Regulation in crypto is likely coming whether we want it or not, but let's just make sure that it happens in a well thought out manner, not in the 96th footnote of an unrelated proposal. Also linked in the description is my Patreon. There you'll find access to all of my buy and sell alerts, my insights on even more news events, free coaching every single day from our top coaches, and so much more. Just make sure you grab a spot ASAP, linked in the description. And I want to thank you so much for watching. I'm Max Maher, and I hope you have a profitable day.